Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another week of Wedding Film School Live, where we are live reviewing wedding films submitted by you guys, the community, the wonderful community of wedding filmmakers. And if you're a wedding filmmaker, we're happy to have you here. If you are interested in wedding filmmaking, maybe not doing it full-time or anything like that, we're happy to have you here as well. And we've got a good show for you today. We actually have distinctly a couple awesome films. I know one I briefly saw the very beginning and I was like, this is gonna be great. We talked about it last week. It was in a submission last week. And I am joined today by Jay. Jay, what's up? I can't hear you.
I muted my mic. I did the right thing and then it made it the wrong thing. So, how you doing, buddy?
The best of us. Good. I'm happy to have. I guess Jared's not here, but happy to have at least you back.
I mean, Jared's kind of here. He's in the other room. Maybe he'll walk in the room.
He's here in spirit. But yeah, last week was solo, but of course still fun. But yeah, fun to have.
So we just got back from Japan. Doing some stuff for wedding film school, so that was pretty fun.
Secret stuff, but you'll know soon enough.
Yeah, you'll know soon enough. But I am so stinking jet lagged. I'm so jet lagged still.
comes with age, man.
Yeah.
You gotta be like 20, and then you can travel around the world and do whatever you want. Otherwise, you're just tired all the time.
I'm just literally waking up at like 4 a.m. every day. Last night I was like putting my kid to bed, and then I just wake up with her on me. I'm just so tired. But we're excited we're reviewing some films. As always, if you are familiar with what we do here, we try to do 3 films every week. Sometimes we do a little more, but we try to do 3 films a week, and we're going to be reviewing them, trying to think through where this person is in their career. Are they a new filmmaker? Are they like just getting started, or are they really experienced? And our goal is to, first of all, just watch a wedding film and enjoy it, and talk about what we liked about it, and maybe give the viewer some tips. And maybe today we're gonna probably do a little more of that, right, Bobby? Because these are pretty skilled filmmakers.
Yeah, I was thinking going into this. Granted, I saw 2 of the names on there, and I haven't seen any of these films, but I was like, man, sometimes I hate reviewing. Like, the first one up, I'll just let you guys know, is from Eugene Drake from the Drakes, who I think is a wonderful filmmaker. And I'm like, I don't really feel like I can really add it. I don't know the film, but I'm like, it's gonna be good. I know that. I don't really feel like I can say too much. Like some of these filmmakers, I'm like, they're making better films than I am. So
yeah. And so that's why it's art, right? Is like, at the end of the day, we are kind of...
You can share some opinions.
We're giving our impression on it, and in some ways, we're not giving necessarily some definitive advice. And that counts from the beginning of your career all the way to someone like Eugene or Max or...
Well, I think as a community, we can still grow, right? Because people in the chat, I mean, I don't know, sound off in the chat. We've got a handful of people here and, probably varying stages of career. Like,
yeah, I would love to know if you're in the chat, how long have you been making wedding films?
Yeah. Cool. Well, anything else to go over before we hop in?
We got a spicy podcast we're recording today.
Ooh, what's it about, or who's it with? I don't know.
We are doing. I think we're going to be doing. Actually, I'm still thinking through the title because.
Can you do, if it's spicy? Can you do the what's the spicy 1-chip challenge? Do you and Jared want to do that?
I do not want to do that. Hasn't it been done on the internet enough?
Yeah, but
what if we just post a video on our wedding filmmaking channel? Spicy 1-chip.
All I'm saying is, you said it's a spicy podcast.
We do it.
Make it a little spicier.
We do a spicy 1-chip challenge, and then we try to film a wedding.
Yikes! Or edit a wedding, or critique a wedding.
Yeah, that could be funny. Who wants to see us do a spicy 1-chip challenge review? Okay, so who's first on our list, Bobby?
All right, first up, I believe, is Eugene. But let me check here. Yep, so we've got Eugene from the Drakes. And let me see what he said here. Tranquil New York upstate meets chaotic, vibrant New York City. A couple are from the city. They want an authentic camping vibe type of wedding in upstate New York with a fun after-wedding session in the city. Lovely couple. She's the kite. He's the string that pulls her grounded. I think that's awesome. And this is the highlight film from it. But yeah, I love kind of that idea of like being able to do, like, it would be a shame to go to New York, right? Have a couple from the city and then be like, hey, we want to go upstate in the woods, which would be cool for sure. But I'd also be like, man, I really want to like incorporate the city. So really glad that they got to do, sounds like a day after session in the city, or maybe
well, this is one of those things. If you're a wedding filmmaker and you're new, and you haven't done this a lot, I think it's really important to know that a lot of these filmmakers that you're wanting to emulate, like Eugene, they're getting a lot more coverage than you. And so when we watch a film like this, where there's clearly multiple sessions happening, I think the thing to learn is not so much, I mean, it is good to learn from the storytelling and the editing, but Bobby, don't you think the thing to learn is really more so like, how do they get the buy-in? You know, and like I think like you get this buy-in, whether it be from they want to invest or they're willing to spend this much time with you. And so I'm always looking for that when I'm watching a film like this, Bobby, is like, it's a 3-day wedding or 2 days at least of shooting. And like, you know, how well was it utilized? You know?
Yeah. I don't think it answers the question necessarily of how to get the buy-in. That's probably a much more deep topic.
That's a thing to know about. Watch that.
Or we'll cover on our podcast. But yeah, exactly. I think this is something where it is something that I really see setting people apart. Like some of those top tier filmmakers, most of them have more than just one day that they're shooting. And so, yes, they do an amazing job. It's not to discount what they're doing or how they're doing it. But I mean, I think with anybody, if I had 3 days of coverage, I mean, the weddings that I have had 3 days of coverage, which have happened, I have so much more content to choose from, and I can be more selective, and I have more audio, and I have more story, and I have more background, I have more locations, and you know, all that.
So, you know, we'll be critiquing this film as a multi-day wedding. So I think that's a important thing to evaluate is like, is it a single day event or is it a multi-day? This is a multi-day event with a great filmmaker. So if you haven't seen their work, go check it out. I believe it's We the Drakes on Instagram, right?
Yep. And also you're about to see their work. So here we go.
Here we go. Let me cue it up, actually.
Oh,
we're so busy.
Dead air.
We made a mistake. Here we go.
Don't ever make mistakes.
I feel like I just always make mistakes. Like probably like
every live stream, there's one mistake.
All day. If you don't know how I do this, like I wish I could grab my camera and show everyone. Like I have this giant live streaming deck and I'm having to like produce the show. We're not that big time guys where we just have this full-time producer who's doing it. So, and I'm also like kind of uncompromising, we'll say. So I'm not willing to be like, it has to be exactly such a way. So anyway, here we go. Here is our wedding film by We the Drakes. Or the Drakes.
Please send it to Zoom.
Before we get to all those necessary things like vows and rings and pronouncements, I'd like to refresh your memory about how they first came together and how they came to this point in our lives. Once upon a time, as we all good love stories begin, in the great state of New Jersey, two teenagers, not necessarily focused on romance, but nonetheless seemingly destined to meet,
The story started in 2005, so we're gonna go back to the Fairlawn High School days.
in Mr. Oliver's AP chemistry class. Val needed Leo for chemistry homework, and Val had her driver's license, so Leo needed rides to his early morning gym classes. You may know a little, you may know a lot, but a great love story is always worth retelling. And for those of you who know Leo and Val, as well as I do, they are a bunch of fun-loving, travel and adventure-seeking individuals with very youthful energy. It has only taken Val and Leo a little bit of time, and yet their entire lifetime to get to this day. So now, several years later, and apartments later, it's their wedding day. The day when they promise to love each other forever. And if by some strange chance you don't know yet,
Bobby, every time
Yes.
I see this, oh no, it's crashed. Every time I see that shot right there of the groom,
I don't know which one. Which one are you talking about?
during the first look, By the way, this thing crashed, so I have to restart it. Anyway, while we're doing it, every time I see that shot of the groom though standing, waiting for the first look, I always think he looks like he's taking a leak.
Maybe he is.
He might be. Or
we can neither confirm nor deny.
Let's crash.
One thing we can confirm though is that the video crashed.
Yeah, the video did crash.
Get it back up. So
very
minus
momentary.
1 point for crashing.
See, at least I didn't do something wrong that time.
The computer did something wrong. Also, being told from the Smiths here, from Max, that we'll be hearing this song again.
The day when they promised to love each other forever.
Both of them lose points for not picking
a
song that no one else has ever used.
Please allow me to tell you, Leo loves Val so much.
Valechka, I vow to love you.
I vow to love you.
To be your best friend.
To grow old with you.
To always remind you of how beautiful you are.
To always remind you of how beautiful you are.
To build our dreams together.
To share our lives together.
To listen to you.
To be your voice when you can't find your words. I vow to always be by your side.
To never give up.
To never ever give up.
To forever think that I am the lucky one.
To forever think that I am the lucky one.
Will you be my wife?
I will. Will you be my husband?
I will.
Under the rug.
Wait, honey, doesn't this belong to the venue? No, it's fine.
We'll pretend. Almost. We're so close. So close.
I feel like I knew there was something we were forgetting.
Val and Leo break the glass. Interpretive.
So,
all the family and friends here today want to pronounce you husband and wife. You may now kiss the bride, and you may now kiss your husband.
Val and Leo are great travel buddies. Val helps you figure out the best food to get, and Leo will give you the Heimlich maneuver after choking on it.
Leo doesn't eat leftovers ever, and Val eats duck embryos. Therefore, with them, there's no food waste.
See, they complement each other so well.
So let's raise a toast to the most loving and incredible people in the world, and cheers for this new chapter in your life.
I'm beyond overjoyed to see my best friends getting married.
Love you.
And I'm so excited for the future. And here's to Leo and Val.
Let me say 3 words and give a toast like Leonardo DiCaprio meme in The Great Gatsby. It's about time.
In conclusion, we wish for the both of you many, many decades of love, happiness, travels, dancing, and to be surrounded by all these lovely people.
All right, Bobby. So there's a lot to digest there. So what did you think? What did you love? If you haven't seen this, by the way, what we're going to do is a little round of what did we love, what inspired us, and then maybe some things we think could be improved about the film. And as always, we're trying to think what would help the filmmaker maybe elevate their game a little bit. And anyway, so Bobby, what did you love?
Yeah, I mean, tons of stuff that I loved. I really don't have too much, or really, I have one critique written down. That's it, and it's a small one. So obviously, I love this. I hadn't seen it yet. I'd seen the very beginning. I think maybe it was posted somewhere, or maybe I watched a part of it. I love what Eugene is doing. I think they make some amazing films. This one, of course, fits that as well. So some things that I really liked. I really like the structure. I like this like intro that actually happened, later. It was a day after session, we know, because he submitted that information, the stuff in the city. And then, the typewriter going back 24 hours to the upstate New York wedding.
I wasn't into the really typewriter. That was the one part I was like, you don't need that. It's a little on the nose.
I didn't mind it.
On the nose.
Okay, take the typewriter sound out, whatever. Like, I like the structure, is what I was saying.
Oh, for sure. I think that's actually to me, I agree with you. That's like the strongest part of the film.
Yeah. I think one of the things I love New York City. It is one of my favorite places in the world, and I love this idea. Like, you can make this elegant New York City shots too, but instead I think he really embraced the chaos of New York City. Part of that, again, you need that investment from your couple, right? They need to trust you. They need to be the type of couple that wants to hop on bikes and go ride around the city. But I like them, and also just so cool for a wedding film. I think that Eugene, and I believe, I could be wrong, I believe all weddings are shot by Eugene and his wife, or usually, so both of them, which I think Andrea.
I don't think Andrea shoots all the time.
Okay. So maybe this one was with her, but basically all credit to whoever shot it. I think that a lot of the films that we, the Drakes, are putting out are, kind of like that masterclass in like handheld and like use of light. I think there's some really good use of shadow and light. I think the handheld is one of those things that, you see handheld footage a lot, and he's one of the people who does it really well, where you have that raw emotion and that movement and that slight, uncertainty kind of, but it's not shaky. It still feels smooth, if that makes sense. And so there was a lot of that in here. And then I think that he really nailed the use of the music, especially that intro one. The one thing I didn't love, I'll get to it actually. I'll get to it in the things we didn't like. But I think for the most part, like the intro song, and you could tell where there were like these short down points in the song, and he was being able to fit in one sentence maybe of the ceremony or a speech that really drove stuff forward still, even though it was very short. So really good use of music.
So there's a lot of really good shooting, first of all. I think I think the narrative structure of the film is really solid. Even if like I said, some of it is, like I said, a little bit too on the nose for me, like in terms of like just very literal, like she's typing. It's like, why is she typing? Like I felt like it didn't need that. I felt like it the people in the shooting and the story was strong. It was really, really strong. It was the strongest part of the film in a lot of ways. And I think that comes to like good listening as a filmmaker. And so I don't know if this was Eugene's idea or the couple's idea, but however they arrived on like this section right here, to me is the best part of the film. And, them dancing on the street, however they arrived at this day happening in New York, it really made the film, because it was like a reflection of their personality. And I liked also juxtaposing the scene of them at their rehearsal or reception or whatever it was with them on the street, and they're like crowd. And it's just like it's really, really smart filmmaking and connected.
Think about, one of the things I think when I see this is like, and look, it wouldn't have been a bad film, but like this should be a film that's on their website, that everybody can see, front page of the website, give 6 examples. This should be one of them.
Well, and also it's not like the super luxury couple.
Exactly. But like my point in saying that is, think about how much, I'm going to say worse, but like if Eugene is watching, it's not to say it would be a bad film, but like, I don't know that it would be a portfolio piece if you didn't have the city shots. Like, it would be a much different film without that.
It would be like a well-shot film.
But yeah, exactly. Like the city shots and getting them to invest and be down to do that and want to do it and really lean into it, that's what sets this film apart. Obviously, your storytelling and shooting and whatnot are top tier, but like having the ability to intersperse that in the film is what really makes this a great film, in my opinion.
So, was there anything in the film that you felt like could be improved upon, or maybe would enhance the
I
film.
have two things, and they're very, very small. And I kind of mentioned this going in. I'm like, man, when I see like we're reviewing like Eugene, or like, if we ever reviewed like Sculpting with Time or something, I'd just be like, well, I don't really like, I don't know. So take it with a grain of salt. But my two things are, one, there were a couple times. Okay, I didn't like your angle on the groom at the ceremony, because you were cutting back and forth between the wide shot. Well, you kind of had the wide shot that showed like the whole triangle. You had a 2 shot from that same like down the aisle, right? And then you had this, I think you had an over the shoulder on the bride, and then you had an over shoulder from behind on the groom. And because like I didn't mind the shot, it wasn't a bad shot. But like cutting it to like, this was one of those times where those cuts were really jarring to me because of the 180-degree rule, where he's on the left, you're over the shoulder.
It was really confusing me as well. Like,
yeah,
who was talking and
Yep. So that was like the biggest thing I wrote down. And then I also I almost would need to watch this like 5 times to come to like a for sure mindset on how I feel about this. But I didn't. It's like I really liked the whole thing about them. They didn't have the glass, right? It was assumingly a Jewish wedding. They didn't have a glass to break. They forgot it. It's funny. It's unique. They like handled it well. It seems like very up their alley. But the music that was behind it, that was the only thing I didn't like. That music felt like it took me out of this feel of like a high-end wedding. And maybe that was the intention. Like, it felt overly like cheesy kind of, right? This like tuba or whatever it was that was playing.
it was like a Curb Your Enthusiasm kind of thing.
Yeah. And I get it, but like, I don't know. It just felt like a little over the top to me. But
I think I would agree with you on, this is my feeling, like the memes and like the humor tone just doesn't do it for me personally. Like, but I do appreciate that that's just a personal opinion. I wouldn't say that's a critique.
Yeah, and it might be exactly what they wanted.
Yes, I wouldn't say that's a critique because it might set you apart. Some people might like it. For me, it's not my thing. Yeah. Here's what I will say. Here's some things I noticed. I felt like the skin tones were shifting dramatically from this part of the day to a lot of your other later, even this part of the day. Like, the ceremony was so blue, and there was so much of the ceremony, and I felt like there was just an inconsistent like white balancing strategy in the film, and it didn't elevate the film like the way it needs to be. Like, to me, that is what highly elevated filmmaking is like that consistent look throughout the film. And I don't feel like it had a consistent look. Even the contrast was way different in a few shots, like right here. And so I think that's one thing I noticed. And I also understand, like, it's not always possible, and stuff happens and light changes, and I think that is a minor critique, but it is something I did notice. The other thing is, for me, it didn't need all those songs. It was too many for me. And like, it was almost hyperactive in the edit. Like, there were parts where I'm like, just chill. Like, just, you don't need to cut 7 times. There's not even any music playing. Like, ba, 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 ba. It would just be cutting. And some of the cuts were a little off too, off the beat. So for me, as I was watching it, and I'm watching it like a recorded version, not a, like, you're watching a digital version through the internet.
Through YouTube.
So I know what I'm seeing is not like internet influenced.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
And it was a little too hyperactive. My opinion is, like, I don't think you need to indulge all your ideas. I think, like, edit yourself a little bit, like, let the film create like a little bit of like calm. Like, I think like this couple was fun, but they weren't that fun, if that makes sense. Like, there was a level of like, I felt like the one part about their personality was like, it was all like the crazy part, and I felt like the film needed a little bit of like a slowdown, and just from an editing standpoint, the cuts were just a little jarring, like some of them. Like, there were times where there's no music and it's just cutting, like, or the music's really low and it was just it was a little hyperactive. So that's again my opinion. That's not necessarily some definitive thing. And I say all that to say it's still incredible, really good. I think some of the things that I'm critiquing might just be that's not my style. Some of it, you know, take it for a grain of salt. Like if you're watching this and you disagree with me, let me know in the chat if you think I'm full of crap and I don't know what I'm talking about. Because I know for sure that this is a good film and that this does represent their style really well.
Definitely.
So that's
Sweet.
it. So who's next?
Awesome job, Eugene. And also thank you for submitting. We appreciate it. I wanted to watch that film last week, but I think it got submitted during the stream, or maybe it was after I had already picked the three films we were doing or whatever. And then I was like, oh,
yeah,
I should wait for Jay and or Jared to be here and not do this by myself, because I knew it would be a great one.
Yes.
And especially when we have some of those top tier films, I'm like, you know.
Well, you know, the thing about that is like there's a lot to learn there. It's like I'm critiquing it, whatever. But in reality, this is like a very professional, artistically valid filmmaker, right? And if you're watching their stuff, you know, you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot, and that's part of the value of it. If you're hanging out in chat and you're watching these videos, or you're watching it later on YouTube, like, hopefully you're not thinking we're just here to like rip on people's work. We're also here to learn, and I learn a lot from watching people like him, because I know him. I know Eugene. He's a great dude, very inspiring artist. And I look at that and I go, hey, you know, there is something there that I can learn. So Ira,
Ira, we actually are glad that you're here. We wanted to mention to you specifically, we wanted to review your film, but we can't review an Instagram link. So we will review you even if you don't have a website. We don't care about that, but you do have to give it to us on like YouTube or Vimeo, or you could reach out to Jay directly, send him the file, right, Jay?
Yeah. He can just email me a Google Drive link.
Something, we can figure something out. And the wedding guest, how do you submit a film? It is at the link that is pinned to the top of chat, which is just our website, weddingfilm.school. And then I think it's /live review or something like that. But go to weddingfilm.school or just click the link. It'll take you directly there. And guys, just a reminder, if you're in chat right now, we do this every single week, every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, 10 a.m. Pacific. And we review your films for free. We don't charge you a dime. Although, if you do want priority in getting your films reviewed, you can become a member. Get some other perks, too. You can hit that little join button down below.
If you just want to support the channel and you just watch our stuff every week and you just want to keep the wedding filmmaking content going, join anyway.
Helps us do this live stream, helps us create videos, gear reviews, editing tips, video stuff like that, as well as our podcast, which is on our sister channel, which you can check out at the Wedding Film School Show.
Ira, just resubmit. Definitely
Cool.
I'm not in the habit of dropping my email address on live stream.
Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have suggested that. But if you guys want his email, just hang around after and I'll give it to all of you. And
I would say everybody should resubmit too. If you submitted 1 week, it's always best to resubmit again, because we might have like a big backlog.
Yep. Technically we still have it right on an Excel if we ever need to go back, but we get enough submissions every week that we usually just choose from them. It's just easier because it's really hard to, deal with. So we always recommend, if you submitted for a week, did not have your film reviewed, submit it again for the next week. And also make sure that you are here live, because a lot of times, depending on how quick we get through them, we'll add a fourth in from somebody who's in chat. So can you submit 3D wedding films? Brad, I don't think that you have one, but if you did, we would review it in 2D. Or we'd bust out our red and blue glasses.
I don't even know what that is, so go for it.
It's all film. We have to wear our Oculus Quests to review it.
But I would love to see a 3D wedding film.
Cool. Anything else before we
let's get to the next film. Who are we reviewing?
Next one is from, oh my gosh, are we going to go 3 for 3 on Eugene's? Right now we're 2 for 2.
Yes,
it's Eugene Levinson.
Yes.
This is Eugene week. Wouldn't that be funny if we just did a different name? We were like, this week is John. Everybody named John.
Our last one is from Eugene Smith. So
Eugene Maximum Max Smith. All right, Eugene Levinson from Levy Weddings or Levi Weddings or something like that. And he says second movie edited. That's all we got. So I guess we can roll right.
Second movie. So this is a new filmmaker. So we're gonna be, let's be encouraging in chat and definitely excited about this because I love it when people give us this. Yeah, it's an honor, right?
People, yeah, we love seeing that.
Here we go.
I want to welcome you to this beautiful chapel to be the witnesses to the exact moment when these two hearts start to beat as one. Once in a lifetime, you find someone who not only touches your heart, but also your soul. Someone who loves you for who you are and not what you could be.
In this world, things will change, but you remain our center stage.
You know, it's great to believe in something or someone. It's just as great when someone believes in you.
You're a galaxy of stars, beating on my heart.
My first promise is to always remain open in mind and in heart to whatever new boxes we go into ticking for each other as we journey through life.
He's like a movie person.
That accent, though.
Going blind.
He is a movie person.
And with your adventurous spirit often leading the way, that could be a wide range of who's or what's. But it's that same adventurous spirit that leads us to create our best experiences and our best memories together.
The way your body moves when you dance, it's like an ocean wave. It's got me in a magnetic trance that I can't escape. Even when I close my
I bet that waterfall was great for audio.
Elise Marie Morton, I promise to marry you every day on our testiest, on our best, and for our rest.
He definitely won't keep that promise. Anyone who's married knows that.
You're a galaxy of stars.
A nice little wink. This man is so charming.
I'm excited to live life our way and to carve our own path of happiness together, to raise our puppies, to travel the world, to start a family together. I think that our love can do anything we want it to. I promise to always keep my arms open for your hugs. I promise to embrace the chaos with you as we create the most amazing life for our family, to grow separately in our chaos but never apart. I promise to go through life forever reminding you just how special you are. I love you, Bug, and I vow to choose you every day for the rest of our lives.
Ever notice symphony? You're the rising of the sky.
There are few miracles in this universe as amazing as love. When it is true and real and lasting, it forms an unbreakable bond between two very fortunate people.
I wish you all the happiness possible in this world, and we love you lots and always will.
A little too much to drink.
Trust yourselves and look to each other for strength, compassion, love, and wisdom.
It's making me start to think something in the way.
Ellie, I give you this ring as a symbol and a reminder that I will love, honor, and cherish you.
That's painful.
In all times, in all places, and in all ways, forever.
That wide shot?
No, that audio.
We really wish you all our love and support.
That audio.
As you continue this
I have a
journey
hard
together.
time with audio.
I look forward to seeing what the future
out
holds for you
me.
both.
I've never met two people more perfect for each other.
Turn the lights down.
both great, but together you are better. Paul and I couldn't be happier for you, Elisa and Summer, and we wish you a lifetime of happiness as your journey through married life begins. We love you both and feel so blessed to be here and celebrating your next chapter.
I now pronounce them husband and wife. Summer, you may kiss your beautiful bride.
Here we go.
Cool.
The logo.
Let's watch it so I can comment on the logo.
So,
Do it with love.
What were your thoughts?
Okay, so look. First and foremost, okay, the submission said second film edited, so maybe that's open to interpretation as far as what that means exactly. Maybe they've shot 100 weddings and only edited 2, or I don't know. But all that to say, I would guess that this is earlier in somebody's career, and I think this is a great film for that stage, even if it's, you know, they've shot 5 and this is just the second one they've edited, their backlog, they don't do this full time, whatever. Like, this is a great film, and I think what I ended up doing was writing down a lot of things that they didn't screw up, or that they didn't screw up that bad, that we commonly see in, you know, somebody earlier in their career. So things that I liked about it: 1, your camera movements when they happened were pretty intentional, right? There was some gimbal work, but you seemed like you weren't just running around with a gimbal all day. There seemed to be some tripod stuff, some maybe handheld or monopod or something like that. Intentional gimbal movements, so I like that. I think you had really good ceremony coverage. You kind of had like the 3 standard angles. I think your wider angle could have been framed a little bit differently, but the over-the-shoulder stuff looked great. You used the music pretty well. Like, there were some, you know, down points in the music. I didn't get the vibe that there was like, that this was like a very energetic wedding, really, like a huge packed dance floor or anything like that. So, you know, kind of the up points in the song maybe didn't have a whole lot of footage to go with that. But, you know, you used audio, you built kind of a flow and a story with it. I think Jay will comment on the audio quality. But yeah, I think those are all things that I think were done, you know, especially within the framework of this was your second wedding, right? Or this was definitely early on in your career. Yeah, this is just like a very, like, you know, we saw this very abstract film, this very artistic film right before from Eugene. And this is like, not the opposite of that, but it is like in the sense of like, this is just like a solid through and through film this early in your career.
I mean this in like the best way. This is like a standard wedding film, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean that in that sense that like, yeah, you're not breaking any ground here. And I would say it's not excellent in any one area, but it's
but
very
this early in your
saleable.
Career, I feel like that's almost what you want to be doing. Like, you want to, I mean, I don't know, maybe this is a deeper conversation, but I'd probably lean towards just making solid standard films and growing your business and your connections and whatever, and then venturing out more as like an artist.
I'm sure Eugene would tell us that it's harder to sell, because it, like a film like what Eugene is making, it's not only is it polarizing, but it takes a long time to make.
Yeah.
And, you know, so there's a negative side to making a non-standard wedding film. Trust me, I make a lot of standard wedding films. And so I say that in the sense that, like, it looks like you know how to do it and you can do this a lot. So I hope that's what happens for you. I hope your career takes off. I hope it goes really well for you, because I feel like any couple, especially people who are looking for just, you know, a lot of people just want a standard wedding film. Like, you did a good job with your storytelling. And I mean, like, visual storytelling too, like everything from that shot right there of the ring. You know, I think there were some times where maybe you overdid it a little bit with some of the shots you wanted to get into. But that being said, you got the coverage, you got the shots. Like, it was very well covered. and a lot of it was very well shot too. You know,
like I think don't we see a lot of people? I mean, nobody like specific, but I feel like a lot of times, whether in these live reviews or just we see it around, right? People post their work, whatever, and we see when you're early in your career, I think you get like, man, the amount of people who are like, I'm going to bring 5 cameras to my first wedding, and then like they should have just gone around with 1 camera, really, because they like overworked themselves, overwhelmed.
They created a lot more opportunities, a lot more failure points.
Yeah, it has great coverage.
Whoa, sorry,
that was loud.
Yeah, my
but yeah,
yeah. So I would agree, and I would also say the thing I loved is I felt like what you were like. I felt like you actually really were connecting. I always talk about this, like connecting with the couple, like trying to pull out their personalities. Like I felt that as well. I felt like their relationship was like portrayed very authentically. And like, you know, one thing that I noticed is like, and I think he was intentional saying second film edited because this is an experienced shooter because they,
yeah, I wonder if they shot for somebody else.
I promise you this person shot a lot because the way that he covered stuff like the earrings and like the amount of how close they got during the portrait session, like new filmmakers don't do that. New filmmakers,
they stand in the same spot over
a
and
distant, like this person got a lot of portrait coverage, which I really liked. So what are some things you think that they can do a little bit better, this filmmaker?
Yeah, so the things I wrote down, there were a couple of points with that. I'm just going to, because I brought it up on Eugene's, I feel like I have to bring it up here. It wasn't in the ceremony, but there was that 180 break a few times. Then, okay, you used a light, which I like. I think, again, that shows somebody who's probably shot more than 2 weddings, right? Who probably shot under somebody else for a while or something, or for another company or whatever. I didn't love the way you used the light, though. I think we saw it really only on the speeches. And then I think we actually saw it in the background of a shot. And it doesn't surprise me that it appeared to just be on your camera. And I think you want more dynamic lighting. You just kind of blasted these people with a light.
Yeah, this is a little bit like a shot like this right here.
Yep.
It's
a
little.
They're just lost on the background too. Like if you're gonna put them up, like it looks like he has like he's just 2 floating arms, a head that's attached to this, because his black just completely disappears. There's no, like, I think in that scenario, and look, we don't know the venue, we don't know the day, right? Like I've shot weddings that have a similar look. I'm probably not blasting them as hard with this light straight on.
The real thing is
like,
the light is too low.
Yeah, and exactly. And if you could, a rim light would help separate them too.
A rim light would help a lot. More angle on the light, so off camera, and much higher. Like it being look where it's putting the highlight right in the middle of his forehead.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it's just on top of his camera right there.
Yeah.
And talking about too low, one of the things I wrote is you have a lot of shots where you're shooting up. I'm not going to say never do it, because I'm sure you could shuffle through my films and find shots where I'm low, wide, whatever. It happens. Sometimes it looks good, whatever. But there was an awful lot of it.
That's all you got.
Yeah. But yeah, I think there was more than, like, I felt like you were leaning that way too often. And I like it in some ways, right? It shows variety. You're moving your feet, you're getting around, whatever. But like, yeah, I don't know. There were just some shots that I think aren't as flattering because of that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of color shift throughout the whole film and a lot of overexposed shots. And some of it could be the edit, like, because I noticed the colors are pretty saturated. And so sometimes when your grade is a little heavy, it really further enhances overexposed shots. So, but also some of that's you could just see that the highlights are gone. I also, like, I just am always not a fan of blue skin tones during shadowy ceremonies. That bothers me. It's like, I feel like people should really work to get people's skin to not look sick or cold. Like, I don't think anyone wants to watch a wedding film and be like, that dude looks freezing. Like,
yeah.
Like, that's like, I was watching this film.
Was there a lot of that in this?
Oh yeah. Right here. It's blue right there. The blue shadows are right there. And, like, he looks like a little too blue for me, right? If you look at those highlights in his forehead. Because the other shot wasn't like that on her face. Look at her skin here and her skin here, and then you go back to the previous shot, and he's blue. Do
you ever have, this is just random, but do you ever, I've had some weddings where the couple, like, obviously if there's like mixed races or whatever, it's one thing, but like where I've had like, you know, two whatever, just like white people, and like
boring old
whiteys
whiteys,
so different. Like,
yes.
Sometimes I'll have that where like the groom is just so pale, or vice versa.
Okay, so you're bringing up a really important thing.
Yeah.
Is like, if you are grading skin tones on an ABC cam, right? And you have a tight shot, you really need to make sure that both people's skin tone looks the same in the wide shot. So the wide shot is your actual reference shot.
It's kind of what sets it. And it's like, oh, this guy is kind of pale.
If someone's skin tone changes, it will immediately set me off. When I see the wide shot and I'm like, oh, that's his skin tone. And then you cut to your tight shot and I'm like, oh, wait, his skin tone is blue. And you cut to the
person.
This bride clearly got either spray tan or tanned a lot. Right? And so like,
or maybe she's naturally very tan, Jay. Come on.
I've done enough weddings to know what spray tan looks like. And like she, which is fine. It doesn't look bad. But it can mess up your skin tone grading when you're on a person who hasn't done it. You need to make sure that her skin tone is like set. And I felt like her skin tone in particular was shifting throughout the whole film, depending on. And so I didn't like that. And so I would just say, make sure you kind of look right there. So it's like almost green, and then here, orange. So look at from here to here, there to there. That was just kept sticking out to me. I would say the audio throughout the film was very uneven, and oh man, I hate to judge people too much on this because you never know what goes into it. So I don't want to say
we're here to give harsh criticism, but in a nice way.
Well, I don't want to say you should have done better because I don't know. You can't always do better.
Yeah, we don't know the circumstances.
But what I will say is I don't feel like you shouldn't be including things. And if you are going to include them, you have to be smart about it. And I felt like there was the way some of this audio was kind of messed up. Really, you're putting it directly. My big thing, what I always say, Bobby, is like, if you have bad audio, don't put it directly next to good audio in the film.
Yeah. Or maybe don't put it in at all.
Or don't put it in at all.
And that's a bigger question where it's like, and guys in chat, I'd love to hear your thoughts too, because you're all wedding filmmakers, or most of you, right? I think me and Jay have our stance on this, but it's like, look, if there's something great that's set, unless it's just like amazing and the audio is bad, I'm probably not going to put it in. Like, I don't care if oh, actually, here's a great example. I did a wedding recently it was here in Minnesota, it was up north. And the audio from the band, you know, he assured me, oh, the mic, it'll reach there, no problem. We test it. But then when everybody gets in, right, with their cell phones and whatever, like, for some reason, it didn't reach that far, and the mic kept
cheap
cutting
mics,
out.
man, need line of sight. It sucks.
Yeah, and I had a backup, but it didn't sound.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened to the live stream, but Bobby crashed. So, and my computer also crashed. So, I am fixing it. So give me 1 second and I will get Bobby back in the thing. Sorry about that. Anyway, while we're uploading, hopefully you guys can see me still. Yeah, I think, and I'll get Bobby on in a second, but I think what Bobby was saying was something about a wedding that he did, which I have no idea what he was going to say. So I'm just going to keep going. And so we got another film coming up for you. And while Bobby's kind of loading back on, we're just having all kinds of stuff, man. There's always something at the Wedding Film School live show. We're going to play our next film. So our next film is made by Max Smith. Max is a filmmaker, which he just did a rebrand, actually. So now they're called The Smiths, which is a cool band. So also a cool wedding film name by extension. So this is a film. So I'm going to pull up the film critique information. And it says here, this is our first official film under our new name, The Smiths. So we thought we'd put it up for review. Can't say anything bad about the wedding or their story. Awesome couple. Awesome wedding day. They were smitten with each other, and the rest is history. Filmed on A7S3. The only issue is I've forgotten to turn off image stabilizer during the interviews, so those shots are shaky. Anyway, so here is the film. And I'm going to go full screen with it while I fix this thing.
So I don't have a lot of wedding experience. And honestly, I was feeling some nerves until I thought about how Briar must be feeling. And you're going to be the one that's legally binded to this man after tonight. So honestly, that puts it in perspective. I don't really feel that bad anymore.
You know me. I'm all about my business. No apologies. I run a life fitness. Can't believe in this moment. I'm free. Look good, smell good is a vibe. Rocks on my wrist is about that time. I gotta go big 'cause I got that. Gotta go big 'cause I got one life. I'm feeling good.
Strong opening sequence there.
I like that new logo.
Briar and I met on social media freshman year. I know it was freshman year, and it was probably, I don't know, midnight, 1 o'clock. And I was just scrolling through Instagram, and I came across her on the Explore, and I just messaged her that night. And ever since then, we talked for like 2 weeks, and then we hung out for the first time, and then we couldn't stay apart from each other. And here we are now.
That's a cool location.
We started dating, well, we've been hanging out for quite a while, and before we were going to the drive-in movies, he asked me to be his girlfriend.
Yeah, I did ask her to start dating when we were going to the drive-ins one night about probably a month after we started hanging out. We were going to the drive-ins with our parents, and right before we left, I asked her, right before we walked out the door of my parents' house. I remember it, in the mudroom.
What I love most about Brendan is his sense of humor and his ability to just be my best friend always.
That's his secret
Every
ability.
single time we're together, we talk about anything. We're best friends first before we're partners.
Oh, man. What I love most about Briar would be everything, first off, but she takes care of me, really, because anytime I need something, she's there. I can call her anytime. She's just a great person. She's always looking out for me and everybody she loves.
If he noticed that I was having a really rough day, he knows I'm not big on like physical touch with other people, but for him, a hug from him just like completely calms me down and just makes me feel better about anything that ever happened that day that made me feel sad or stressed or anxious.
I'm pretty nervous about today. I feel like I'm gonna be emotional today because I know as soon as I see her walk down, I'm gonna be so excited, and it's all finally here. And we've been together for 8 years.
Flat laugh.
I can't wait to see her because I haven't seen her since last night. And that's what I'm most excited about.
I'm really
He hasn't seen her
excited
since last night.
about today, and I'm also really nervous
They're ultra in
because I want everything to go wonderfully.
There's so much more in love than
very
any of
excited.
us.
The most more in love couple that you've ever seen. It is funny, like, just in wedding filmmaking in general, like, you're seeing people, and like, I'm not cynical of this. I actually think it's a great thing. Like, you are seeing people in like this heightened state of emotion that's like a little time capsule, right?
For sure.
Like, so they're like, everything's like, oh, I'm so in love. Like, it's like this. It's so interesting to think about like the human experience of like having these intense moments in your life, and like, you know, I think this is why it's special. What we get to do for a living is you're kind of giving people. It's not always easy, you know. In marriage, it's not always easy in relationships, and you give them this, right? That's what I think I like enjoy about Max's films. Actually, to early critique, is you're giving someone something that's gonna give them a little more insight into how they feel about each other than just simply remember that day we got married. So it's always, I like these interviews for that reason. They're kind of telling a more 3D story. So
Briar, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I've been waiting for the day I could buy a ring for you, and I finally got to, and I just can't wait to see you today and be with you for the rest of my life.
Hey, Brendan. I know that you're very nervous and very anxious about this, but it's gonna go great. You're gonna do everything perfectly. I can't wait to see you at the end of the aisle waiting for me. I just love you so much, and I can't wait to spend forever with you.
My old friend, have you lost where you're going? Hey, my dear friend, are you
Whoa, groom's hand running through you, touching all of the tall grass.
You guys just have this thing that no one else I've seen really has. It's real, it's raw, it's everything you could imagine. There are few people in this world who have the heart, soul, and compassion as both Briar and Brendan.
I still think about those days in the stillness of our home.
They have found a friendship and a love so pure and a bond that cannot be broken.
Ooh, I like that shot.
Have you lost where you're going? Hey, my dear friend.
Watching my best friend, who's like my sister, fall in love with her whole heart, and to watch them grow from kids to adults, not only did they find themselves, but they found each other through it all.
I wish to share a quote from the ancient Chinese philosopher, Lao Tzu. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage.
There it is, the new other logo.
This is a logo reveal party for the Smiths.
Great. So cool film. What do you love about that film?
Okay, so I don't have a lot written down because, not because I didn't like a lot, but because I was getting myself back online and not paying great attention, and then I was thrown off. But I think this is a great film. I missed a very good chunk of the beginning. I don't remember any of this. That title was cool. I like that. I like your new logo. I think there was some good shooting. I think that I really like, and this is kind of a Max Smith or the Smiths special, which is that, you know, those like, I don't know if they're on the day of. I assume the groom was the day of also. I'm pretty sure the bride was because she was in her like robe. But those like interviews, and I think that's also kind of in that discussion of like, how do you get that we'll call it emotional investment from your couple? Like, I don't think a lot of my couples, there are some who would do it, but there's definitely some who wouldn't. And yet Max seems to get these from all of his couples. So, and maybe that's just what he puts out there, and in turn, good job by him. But yeah, I really like that. I think it adds another level, another layer. And I think that it kind of takes your films, and Jay, you were kind of talking about this, from like, kind of takes it from like a wedding film to almost like a family heirloom,
a relationship
right?
film.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but like having that moment captured of like, here's me before the wedding. Here's where I'm at. Here's what's on my mind.
Well, it's really like, what is the story? Like, for the films that we make with Stop Go Love, like, we're very clear. We do make 2-day films now, but we don't do interviews or any of that stuff. It's just not. Yeah. It's not in the cards with our couples, with the planners we work with.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
It just isn't. But, you know.
Oh yeah, and to be clear, Max, I don't think that you're springing this on them the morning of or anything like that. Like I totally think.
Well, it's you show what you want to grow. That's what I was gonna say is like, when you are committed to a strong artistic or creative choice, a storytelling mode, right? It becomes what you get booked. And so this is what I'll say. You know, they're pretty new in filmmaking. Max, they used to be called Kenneth Kevin Media. Pretty new relative to, you know, myself. And so they were able to quickly kind of hone in on their storytelling style, and they stuck with it, and they created demand for how they want to tell stories. So if you're wondering, like, maybe the question is, how do you get the buy-in from the first couple people? And that's the tricky part probably. But I think once you have the buy-in, you're just going to get the inquiries, and they're going to say, I want that. I really loved what
you did here. I haven't seen anybody else do that. Whatever.
So I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Max, in the chat, but it seems like probably most of your couples now expect an interview. Maybe. You know. So anyway, I agree.
Yeah, and really, I really like your rebrand, and I think that is a great business move for you.
Yes, I agree. I actually like the handheld interviews. It just feels better to me, you know, and there's so much good shooting. And the thing I'll always say about them is when they film, like my criticism of the previous filmmaker, which was like the skin tones were bouncing all over the place. I never feel like that. I always feel like this is tricky. There's a lot of different scenes in his films, and the color is very consistent throughout the film. It's a consistent like storytelling style, which I think is really the real mark of a experienced storyteller and a person who's running a really solid brand is they don't divert. And some people are like, it's boring. They they'll see the similarities, but from a standpoint of like running a business and selling something, even just as an artist, not going crazy, right? Because you're not making creative choices. It allows you to really like focus in on where are you making a creative choice, right? Instead of everything's a creative choice. So a lot of really good stuff throughout the film. And I really, really, really particularly liked the second part of the sequence. Very emotional. And I felt like that was like the most authentic kind of part of the film. So what are some areas you think the film could maybe be improved upon?
Yeah, the only thing that I would say two things. One, there were a couple shots where the handheld felt too extreme to me. And it was only a couple. But then the main thing that I would say, and this is definitely a personal opinion thing, I think one of the things that I've known you for is really getting, especially when you're, interjecting those, or, putting in those interviews, those really raw interviews. You have this ability to get this really raw emotion in your couple shots. And we've seen that in your day after session or day before session or whatever. And maybe I just haven't picked up on it before. Maybe I'm just in a cranky mood about it today. I don't know. But I felt like this definitely had that. But then you also have these shots that just, like, it just felt really posed to me a lot of the time.
I was going to say there's too much posing.
Yeah, there's too much, like, where I felt like...
I felt the
if
pose.
If that was your style, I think it would be one thing. But because I don't feel like that's your style, it felt like there were a handful of shots where it was very clear your direction was, okay, I forget their names.
Kiss her shoulder or look over.
Or groom, you look over here. Bride, you look over there too. And then halfway through, you're like, okay, bride, look at me. Like there was so much of that, like as the camera moves, and then they're like, eye contact.
For me, it was more so like this shot particularly stood out to me. This like,
and it looks really nice. Like, don't get me wrong, but it killed the edit. It didn't kill the edit, but like it took me out of the edit a little bit because I just don't think.
I think when you juxtapose super raw, like right there, that look on his face right there, I want more of that, right? Like I felt like the super raw authenticity of the day kind of got downplayed by the posing, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like like the film wants.
I think it's really hard to put them next to each other.
Yeah, or it's just a little out of balance, maybe.
Yeah.
In the edit. Like, yeah, you shoot as much as you can shoot, right? But then it to me, it's like I didn't have a sense of what the wedding day was at all. Like, I didn't really feel connected to the event. It felt like an interview with B-roll, right? And, maybe that's the style. Maybe that's what you're selling. For me, I would say a little too slow-paced. And maybe that's why you had to use so much B-roll. Like it could be that was the whole choice, but it also could be if it was a little more fast-paced and you didn't need as much of the interview, maybe you wouldn't need so much B-roll, and maybe it would feel a little bit more connected. I felt like the intro sequence, Bobby, was...
I missed it, so.
Yeah, it's very, it's cool. It's cool, but it's so different than the other part of the film. And in some ways I like it because it's an opportunity to highlight the handheld style. But in another sense, it was the tone. You know what it is for me is like, I don't like to tell people like your film should have this tone. Like that was the best part about the film. But I always do like to point out to people when I feel like the tone shifted in a really major way. You watch like a good movie, right? You ever watch a movie and like the humor is just a little off and like it's too jokey joke, and then they have these dramatic moments and you're having a hard time like switching gears in the movie.
Yeah.
And I
think that could be a way to put it, where it was like one of those, whether the posy whatever or the like raw emotion, like one of those feels forced.
Yeah, it was kind of like if you were to, and I mean this in a good way, it was like the highly engineered, like very kind of cinematic kind of thing of like a sculpting with time mixed with like super hipster kind of bottle brush mixed with very authentic, a little long distance. And I feel like you should lean one way or the other a little bit more and not try to do everything in the films. I feel like they would be stronger, more you than kind of like, we can do this and we can do this and we can do this. Because I'm watching the films and I'm like, there's no weak parts about what you're doing. It's all strong. And I feel like just kind of like pushing in one direction a little more.
That's the unique thing about it is like the post stuff wasn't bad. It looks great and it was well executed. The raw stuff wasn't bad. It looks great and well executed. It's just like, taking all those styles together, it can be hard to mesh them.
Yeah. And that can, again, that could like just be our opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, 100%. And you know, when we focus on something like this, it's because it's a great film, you know?
Yes. Really good film. There was nothing really to me that like stuck out as really bad. It was more like when I watch it and I go, what I know it could, like, just as you as a filmmaker, Max, like, I know you're figuring yourself out and trying to figure out, look, I can do all these things, which is the thing that makes me most me. And I think that's important for you now is like, how do you really define yourself and stand out? And I think that's the next kind of hurdle because you clearly know what to do with the camera.
The answer to that might be what people in chat are calling for, which is another rebrand. You got to dump the Smiths. You got one wedding in, and you need to rebrand to a little bottle brush Smith with time. And you're good to go. Yeah. And there will be no confusion.
Yeah. I was talking to Max actually, and he's actually going to come on the podcast soon because I want to talk to him about his rebrand and kind of like, I love having people who are like at the very top of the game. And no, that was a little longer AB because I wanted it to be. It was longer than him. But also, I like to talk to people too who are kind of like on the beginning of that ascension, because I think it's interesting to like hear people at the place in their career when, you know, I think it's more relatable, right, Bobby? When you have someone who's there, it's not just top of the top.
Like it's great to hear from, Sculpting with Time, Ray Roman, whatever, like those people charging 30, 40 grand, whatever. But it's also great to hear from people, and Max is no slouch in his pricing or anything like that, and it's grown really well. But hear from people all over.
I always love Max's greens.
Different struggles.
Like I'm like big into like greens.
I'm big into greens.
Yeah, dude. Like when I see trees and they don't look good to me, it bothers the crap out of me. Like it's just like the color grading thing because when you watch like full spectrum light coming through trees have a lot of different colors in their leaves, right?
Put your lab coats on, people. We're getting
you're
sciencey.
Well,
here.
Light is all the colors, and like so you have to like maybe do a little work and give it like I much prefer like a more green than like the yellow greens that a lot of trees do in wedding films. It just bothers me. Given they got great light and they're in an incredible location. I wonder what this location is, by the way. It's such a great location.
Can't tell you.
All right, so Bobby, that was a lot of fun.
It was. Thank you all for coming. I never finished my story, but my story was essentially that the father of the bride's speech audio was bad because of a bad mic, and I chose not to.
Speaking of bad mics, I have to say this to you have that interview mic for the guy was clipping the whole time, Max. So maybe you don't do that.
Bad mics. Speaking of bad mics, again, I have a video, Jay, that I just did on a whim because I felt like it, and I don't even know if you looked at it yet.
Uploaded.
It's uploaded. It's ready to go. It's not released because I gotta do the description, but I played around with some AI audio editing, and it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, was it the Adobe thing?
Yeah, I mean,
dude, that thing is nuts.
Like, look, first this came from kind of Final Cut introduced voice isolation, which is cool.
If you're not using it, you gotta use it.
I love it. Just a little bit goes a long way. Love it. And then Adobe came out with Adobe Shasta, which they've now rebranded to Adobe Podcast, which is all that to say it's the enhanced voice feature. It's in beta, and it's pretty awesome. Like, it's pretty crazy. And I really like this edit, so you guys should check it out when I release it, because I just feel like I did a really good job with this video. So please, as many pats on the back as you can give me, I would appreciate on that video. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, guys, have an awesome day. Thanks for
coming. Leave a like on your way out, and yeah, we'll see you a week from today.